Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
Hello, Spooklings.
I'm Jason.
And I'm Kathy.
And we're the hosts of the weekly podcast, All Hallows Eve Podcast.
We are a husband and wife duo with a passion for anything spooky, macabre, and true crime, sprinkled with our own twist of comedy.
We explore topics such as the history of Halloween, the Butcher of Plainfield, Hocus Pocus 2, urban legends, superstitions, and more.
So come join us as we go down the rabbit hole that is All Hallows Eve Podcast.
Listen and follow us at allhallowsevepodcast.com or your favorite podcast provider.
Stay spooky, my friends.
Making sure I'm recording. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Films and Fermentation. We are back with another episode. This is episode 124. That's right. We are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced and celebrating our birthdays in the same month. That's right. This episode 124, is the birthday episode. All three of us celebrate our birthdays in the month of October. Mike is October 13th, Kevin October 24th, and I am October 28th. So in honor of our upcoming birthdays this month, we are looking back at our childhood and picking 5 movies, or in my case 7, that we would watch over and over again as kids, wearing out the old VHS tape, so to speak. And for anybody listening who doesn't know what a VHS tape is, you are a young buck.
I'd say I also wore out the beta tapes.
Yeah, I remember the Betamax. Yeah. I remember accidentally dropping water ice in my dad's Betamax and being in a lot of trouble.
No shit.
He did not have Betamax, and as much as I wanted the laser disc, that wasn't in the cards either.
No, I never had the laser disc.
Let me tell you something about when we had the Betamax. It was like back when the Betamax was like $700.
Betamax had better quality, but it's just.
But the tapes were just fucking big.
And they only went like 4 hours.
It was like putting in a tape the size of like, War and Peace into your tape player. So we're gonna be taking a look at some of our favorite movies from the VHS era. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links and become part of the Films and Fermentation family by supporting us on Patreon or going to teespring.com to buy some of our merchandise. Merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made. Next segment is drinks. I'm going to go first because I already finished one. We didn't even start recording yet. I decided I was going to try to do something that was sort of childhood relevant. So, like one of my favorite drinks growing up was a good old Hank's black cherry soda. I love me a good black cherry soda. So I'm drinking tonight the alcoholic alternative, the Mike's Hard Black Cherry, which is so easy to drink. I already killed one, and we barely started recording the episode. So
I thought you were going to say,
cracking.
this reminds me of the bug juice I had growing up, or the Kool-Aid. Oh, yeah.
I did that on episode 1. We talked about films from our youth on episode 1, and I drank a Kool-Aid hard cider from the New York.
Oh yeah.
It's whoever wants to go next.
I'll go next. So I'm staying with the October theme and drinking Southern Tier's Pumpkin Imperial Pumpkin Ale, 8.6 alcohol by volume. Very good pumpkin ale.
It is good. I like the Southern Tier stuff's really good.
I enjoy Southern Tier as well. I think I may have a new favorite with Whole Hog Pumpkin Pie Ale, but Southern Tier was my first, and you always remember your first.
That's what they say.
So my wife and I went.
I barely remember my last.
A couple of weeks ago, I'd say, on September 24th, or roundabouts, we went to. We had to travel to Delaware for some purchases. On our way back, we had stopped at a brewery that we had wanted to go to, but it's a little far out of my way. I mean, it's further south than you are, Lee, and not that you're very, very far, but it's like an additional half an hour away from your house. So
you had to go over Commodore Barry.
Yeah, well, no, we went over the Burlington. No, not Burlington Bristol. We went over the Delaware Memorial. You know, so. But we stopped at this little brewery, which has been around since 2000, called Swedesboro. I'm sorry, 2020, not 2000. Swedesboro Brewing Company, with their little trash panda on the logo. And their story is the Swedesboro Brewing Company's mission is to produce exceptional beer of the highest quality that is rooted in the deep history of brewing from around the world and inspired by the unique history of Swedesboro. We found them to be extremely accommodating. Like they were very polite. They were super helpful in explaining the beers and the flavor of the beers. I am about to open up a crowler of the Trinity Triple, which is a Belgian triple ale, 9.2% alcohol by volume. They give you the batch number that it came from, and the server who poured it. And we did flights, as we're known to do at our breweries. And when you get a flight of 4, they give you these little cards for the beers. And if you wanted to know more about the beer, they give you little QR codes on the back that you can scan. And it will link up with your Untapped. It will provide you with information provided by the beers or about the beers. And I just thought that was super helpful. So we're definitely going to go back. This weekend coming up, they have the Witchcraft, a mystical encounter with brews and spirits. So anyway, fun things. So this is the Trinity Triple. We are the 3 men having birthdays in the month of October. And Megan thought, yes, that would work. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'm going to fill it in my Left Nut Brewing pint that I got from my dear friend Michael.
It's also, you got like trading cards in the place, which is kind of like, useful too.
Oh, absolutely. You can.
I mean, they didn't have QR codes back in the 80s, but
well, they didn't cost me anything more, and they're helpful. It's like gotta catch them all, gotta taste them all.
Speaking of that, Mike, what are you tasting this evening?
Mike already did his.
Did you do yours? Oh, that's right, you did yours.
I guess I ranted on a little too long.
No, it's been a while.
We just had one too many hard mics already.
We have one too many hard mics, and I'm like thinking about how I got to edit this tonight because we are recording the day before I usually release. So
sorry.
What a sweet release it'll be.
What a sweet release it'll be. So Mike, what I meant to say was, is there anything happening this week?
This week in film history. Go ahead, Lee. The first 2 are yours.
The first one's a real one.
Yes.
Hey, here you go, Young Frankenstein. September 30th, which was a couple weekends ago, was International Podcast Day. On that day, I wished Happy Podcast Day to some of our friends out there in the podcast community who have supported us, who have appeared on the show, who have helped us do some promo swaps, things like that, because it was a good day to say hi and support some of those other indie podcasts out there.
And we should say welcome back.
Welcome back to All Hallows
Eve.
Eve. They haven't posted in a while, and they just posted a new episode this week. Welcome back to Jason and Kathy. I was happy to see that. I sent them a message on Twitter saying I was happy to see a new episode. I also want to send it out there to Gaius and Jackson at Back to the Blockbuster, who had us on their show like a month ago or a little over a month ago. To Mr. Gentleman, who's always supportive of us, to DJ Scoob at the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, Chris and Deb at the Today We Laughed and Learned. Who am I forgetting? The Fandalorians, Nerds by Day, Teachers by Day, Nerds by Night. Austin over at Wrestling World, who's also another big supporter of us. And anybody who I forgot, I'm sorry. I didn't have this scripted. This is just me like going off the cuff again, which, as we've already seen, doesn't always work. So, happy International Podcast Day, belated International Podcast Day to everyone. The second one I have on here, did you guys know that the actor who played Wilson in Castaway actually made his film debut as the volleyball in Top Gun?
I thought he looked familiar. They de-aged him a bit, though.
Katie's like, why'd you put that in there? I said, I wanted to see if anybody saw it. Anybody noticed it in the notes? So, Mike, you have some serious facts for us this week, though, right?
Yes, I do. In 1945, Hollywood Black Friday, a 6-month strike by Hollywood set decorators turned into a bloody riot at the gates of Warner Brothers Studios.
Yikes.
I have a feeling we talked about this last year on this date.
Probably.
Sounds familiar.
Unless there's a lot of Bloody Fridays.
Yeah, I know. Well, thankfully, the current strike didn't turn into violence.
No.
What's the second one you got there?
In 1947, Harry Truman makes the first presidential address televised from the White House.
Okay.
Was that a fireside chat, or was that not Truman? That was FDR.
That was
FDR, wasn't it?
FDR, who used to do the radio broadcast, the fireside chats. Mike gave me must-try beer craft destinations for us. I don't know. I feel like Kevin already covered this for us, but if you have something, go for it.
I do have a must-try beer. It is local.
Okay.
It is
Local.
Tart Monkey. Victory Brewing Company in Downingtown, PA.
Monkey.
Tart Monkey. Yeah, another twist on the brewery's well-loved Golden Monkey Belgian-style pale. This one is a session sour ale with added wheat and guava. As such, it takes on the fruit opaque pink color and delected tropical. Where am I? Where was that?
What were you drinking tonight, Mike?
Pumpkin is 8.6%. Aroma, which nearly eclipses the base beer's yeasty clove and orange peel character. There you go, boys. Leo, Kevin could probably tell us more about it personally.
I was about to say, do you want to take two? And then you found yourself. So I was like,
I found myself. It's all right.
I don't like the alternative monkeys that Victory produces. And I don't want to say I don't like. I really like the original. I really like Gold Monkey, and the Tart Monkey is going to be too tart for me to really enjoy.
I like the sour, so it should be.
I don't have a lot of beers from Victory that I really enjoy, but Gold Monkey is definitely one of them.
I'm not on the Gold Monkey's not one that I like too much, but I'm not big on like the banana beers anyway. So I was just about to say, is it noticeable that I'm watching the Phillies game while we're recording? And
if somebody's watching, yes.
Well, we're watching it reflected in your eyes.
Well, as I was about to say that to you, the signal went out on my TV, so I'm watching a blank screen now. So I think it timed out because I wasn't doing anything with the TV.
Maybe I should turn my TV on and you can.
No, I think I might just bring it up. I'll bring it up on my phone so I can put it here in front of me. And
Well, why don't we just pull it up on the computer? We can have a fourth window.
yeah, we are
Share
going
the screen
to take
with
a
it.
break from podcasting about movies so we can watch the Phillies game. All right. It's the synopsis according to Glip. Synopsis according to Glip is brought to you by Newsly.me. Newsly.me is an audio super app for iOS and Android that reads news to you in a natural human voice. Stop scrolling, start listening. Go to Newsly.me today and use the promo code ANFERMENT. Get your first month premium subscription for free. So, Glip, this was a while back. We did a recasting of the 1993 film Tombstone. Yeah, it was a good episode. It was fun to re-listen to.
Mhm.
I tried to get people to vote online on who had the best cast, and we got one vote.
I win.
Voted.
I don't know who voted, but it was 100% for me. So the one vote went my way.
Wait, what? I voted. It must
You
have been 50-50, yeah.
Oh, I hadn't seen that vote, so I have to go back and see.
Oh, there's
get
a
on the
rigged
vote
election. Rigged election.
So now I don't know. I can't see who voted. It's anonymous. The vote I saw was on Instagram.
Hugo Chavez had something to do with it.
Anyway, this is what Glip. I was about to say this is what Newsly had to say about the show. This is what Glip had to say about that episode. Hey, Mike is still on the show, but wants to be gender fluid.
We can do that.
While Leo and Kevin discuss Dancing on Friday. Bill Paxton should be in all movies. Leo is going to take a break and talk about the 1993 Wild West classic Tombstone and recast some characters in the film for a modern-day reboot. The participants discuss why the mustache is important, and Leo will edit out the others' opinions later.
As he did with the election.
That's why he won the election, because our opinions got edited out.
I edited out your opinions. That is actually one of the more accurate Glips we've had in quite a while. So we were joking about kicking Mike off the show from the previous episode, and then he started doing his little fake female voice, calling himself Michelle, and I made a joke about gender fluidity.
What are you talking about?
Glip took it as serious. Kev was discussing being a chaperone at a dance at his school that Friday. We did say that Bill Paxton should be in all movies.
Mhm.
Leo's going to take a break was when I did a break in between segments to play promos. And then we did talk about the Wild West classic Tombstone and recast the characters. So it actually got our main idea there. The mustache is important was a discussion about Sam Elliott. And lastly, I made a joke about how I was going to edit out your opinions afterwards because I thought I had the best cast anyway.
And duly noted.
Did you see the Facebook post later that week that I sent you about your main character? How he has no charisma.
He has no charisma. Who, Wyatt?
Yeah.
Wyatt Russell?
Wyatt. Yeah.
He has no charisma?
Compared to his father, he has no charisma. And
Well, he's young. You got to give him a chance. We're basing this on him playing the fake Captain America.
The one that looked like, what was the guy from Up? Mr.
Yeah, I was going to say the fact that he has a chin that looks like Carl from
Mr.
Up.
Walters?
Carl. Was it Carl Sanderson or Henderson or something like that?
Something like that.
So that was our synopsis. According to Glip, we're going to take a short break to play some promos from some of our fellow podcasters. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at our main segment tonight, which is our favorite VHS watches of our youth. Let me tell you about Buzzsprout. Podcasting isn't hard when you have the right partners. The team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. Join over 100,000 podcasters already using Buzzsprout to get their message to the world. Buzzsprout gets your show listed in every major podcast platform. We use Buzzsprout now, and it's been a game changer for us. All new analytics, tools, and resources, all these different things that we did not have before. So upgrade to Buzzsprout. Follow the link in our show notes, and let Buzzsprout know we sent you. We are back from our short break. It was a very short break. And we are going to talk about our main segment tonight, which is our favorite VHS watches of our youth. Now, what we tried to do for this was choose movies that we rewatched over and over again as kids. For me, and over. For me, I tried to stick within the first 10 years of my life. So from 77 to 87, like these were the movies I watched. And
for the listeners out there, I'm sorry, for the listeners out there that aren't aware, VHS was a medium, which was actual film. It's called film. We call it film and fermentation. This was actual film that this was put on. And it wore after a while. You know, if you were fortunate enough to have the film wear to the point where it snapped, then you were lucky, because some of us, it was a mix between the film or the cassette wearing down or the VHS player getting the film caught up in it. And then when you ejected it, you had to pry it out as carefully as possible, roll it back in, and hope that it wasn't crinkled so bad that you couldn't watch it again.
And just like a cassette tape in your cassette tape player, you had to use the pencils. That was the zenith of technology repair back in 1982.
And always remember, be kind.
Rewind. Also, the name of a very good movie starring Mos Def and Jack Black.
Hey, did you guys know that if you covered certain little holes on not only on a audio cassette tape, but a video, that
you could record over it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the ones you get from the video store always had that little piece of plastic missing. Video stores, children, was back in our day. We had places like Blockbuster,
West Coast
Video. I had Phoenix Video in my neighborhood, which were all places you would go to rent
Movie
VHS
Mania
movies. Go to rent those films that just came out on VHS.
Friday nights used to be awesome, weren't they? Like as a kid, it was
set up.
What?
We had the best setup where I lived.
Really?
Because we had in one building, Blockbuster and Papa John's. So you go in, order your pizza, go get your movie. By the time you got your movie, the pizza was ready. You're heading home.
We could pick up my dad from the train station, and my mother would have ordered the pizzas just before leaving. Picked him up, gone over to the video store, which was right around the corner from the pizza place that we went to. The kids got to pick a movie. The adults picked a movie. We went up, picked the pizzas up, went home, and we set up the coffee table in the living room. You know, brought out soda, brought out napkins and a vinyl tablecloth, and just watched the kids' movies and ate the pizza. Good times.
We had a little video store on the corner of my street called Phoenix Video. So I just could walk from my house to this place, rent a video, take it home, and if I was, if my dad wanted to, we would go to the Blockbuster, which was a few blocks away. We'd have to drive there, but it was like, at least I had that place on the corner. I can once in a while get a video there. And then we would go home. We would order our pizza, but we always ordered it from the same place. We ordered it from a place called the Pizza Place, that we ordered from so much that even now at 46 years old, I still remember the jingle. 755-9900, because the pizza place is the pizza place. I said the pizza place is the pizza place.
Well, that was the best part about the pizza, especially a small mom and pop pizza place. The guy who owned Pizza City, which is where we went, John, he knew my dad backwards. Like, he knew we'd come in and we'd stand there, our fingers over the counter, with behind the plexiglass, while he would do the, doing the flips up in the air and stretching it out. And God, he knew my family for 35, 40 years, because my dad could stop in there now and still see him, and he'd be like, "Hey, Rick,"
That's like the pizza places. They didn't have the caller ID back then, but they would know the order as soon as my dad said it, because he always ordered the same thing. And you'd be like, one large plain pizza, one half pepperoni, half sausage and mushroom. And they'd be like, Leo, yep, you got it. VHS stands for Video Home System.
Yep.
I was like, I was kind of trying. I couldn't remember. I remember it was like video something. Video Home System, a standard for consumer-level analog video recording on tape cassettes invented in 1976 by the Victor Company of Japan and was the competitor to the ill-fated Sony Betamax system. Oh, man.
Again,
It's funny, I still have some VHSs.
VHS was cheaper, and when you got the ones you could record on, you could record up to 8 hours. But Beta was more expensive, but had better quality. But was only 4 hours long. When you
Did you record on a Beta? Did they sell blank Betas? Okay.
Yep. The thing I remember with the VHS too, though, is if you did like the 8-hour recording, it was like the longer it was and the more you can record, the less quality you had. Because you were just like stretching the tape out as much as you can. Yeah. And then you'd record over it and record over it.
Oh, yeah,
and then your sisters would get angry at you because you recorded over their movie.
That was my Strawberry Shortcake movie.
That was my dance recital. Oh, fuck it.
That was Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, man. So, how should we do this?
Wait. Do you guys remember that section in the video store that had the beaded curtain?
Yeah, but I was going to ask you that. As you said, your parents got their own adult movies. Is that where they got it from?
Yeah.
Never watched them go beyond the beaded curtain, and I just, I'd peek in and be like, oh no, I'm not allowed back there.
Phoenix Video didn't have a beaded curtain because it was so small. You would walk in. It was like Randall and Clerks. You would walk in, and there was a guy behind the counter. You would ask him for the movie you wanted, and if they had it, they had it. And if they didn't, they didn't. There wasn't like any like walking around and looking. It wasn't like Blockbuster where you had like aisles and aisles of like films.
And aisles and aisles.
If I wanted to go behind the beaded curtain, I'd have to go to the West Coast Video on 9th and Tasker. And we'd sneak back there until we got caught, Hey,
mister, do you have Addams Family Values? Listen, lady.
How about Debbie Does Dallas? So I lost my train of thought.
How are we going to do this?
Everybody's shot.
Thinking about the beads.
How are we going to do this?
How are we doing this? So should we do like age before beauty? Because then Mike will go first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Age and beauty, of course.
So, we can go by birthday. Mike's birthday's first, October 13th. So, Mike, you can always give us your first film. And what we're going to do is kind of talk about the films a little bit and not go too much into review because I feel like most of these are probably films we've talked about before, but kind of ask the questions like, why do we watch them so much? What's our earliest memory of the film? And do they still hold up today? So you don't have to go in order, Mike. You give me any movie you want on your list right now.
I'll go with the first one on my list that came to mind. This one now has a current Oscar winner. Goonies.
The Goonies.
The Goonies. God, I watched the shit out of that.
You saved some time for me because Goonies is on my list too.
Booby trap. Booby trap.
Booby trap. That's what I said. Booby trap.
And you look back on it now, Goonies has an Oscar winner in Ke Huy Quan and an Oscar nominee in Josh Brolin, the older brother. And you have
Sean Astin.
Sean Astin
probably should have
had at least a nomination for Return to the King.
Yes.
But yeah, Goonies, yeah. All right, so
yeah,
I'll let you go first and I'll go first because I have it on my list too. So what's like
no, as a kid,
let's do the earliest memory thing. Like when's the first time you remember seeing this?
Oh God. I think it was on HBO or something when I first saw it. I didn't go see it in the theaters, I know that. I think it's when it first premiered on HBO. Which is a long back when HBO actually premiered movies that were
right.
You guys remember the intro to HBO? The little fly down over the model town.
And then underneath it would say home box office.
Yes. Yeah.
So
one
Goonies
thing
came
about
out.
Goonies that always freaked me out was the scene where Chunk is taken by the Fratellis. I know it was something like that. I know it was some
Italian group,
Italian name.
Here's an easy way to remember the name Fratellis. Fratelli means brother in Italian, so they're the brother brothers.
Well, then the mother too.
So she's the mother of the brothers. She's the
The
mother.
mother of the brothers. When they had the blender,
Oh,
and they were
yeah.
throwing things in, and I was like, no, they're actually going to do it. I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch. They're actually going to put his hand in there.
Then at the end, he's down there stealing the ice cream. Not trying to get away. He's eating the ice cream.
Dead FBI agent in the freezer. Now I remember. So this came out in 1985. So
Okay.
I would have been 8 years old. I know I didn't see this in the theater. My earliest recollection of seeing this for the first time is at my friend Joey's house. I had a friend named Joey who lived around the corner from me growing up, and we used to take turns going to each other's houses after school. And I would say a lot of the movies that I saw for the first time as a kid, I saw at his house.
At Joey's house?
Yeah, so I feel like I really kind of remember seeing Goonies at his house for the first time and thinking the same thing, Kev. They're sticking his hand in the blender, getting real nervous. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, like, I was like 8 or 9 years old when I saw it for the first time. So I remember going, oh, man, are they actually going to, like, chew up this kid's hand with the blender? And
So this would be like one of those movies where I would probably have seen it in my friend Ryan's house because my parents would not have let me seen this on its own. But my friend Ryan's parents were frequently working, so he's like, "Oh no, come on over." I saw RoboCop that way. I saw Total Recall that way. It was like, how am I going to watch the R-rated movies or the PG-13 movies? Oh, I'm going to go over to Ryan's house.
I was that kid that everybody came to watch that stuff.
well, my friend Joey was always trying to, like, sneak, R-rated movies into the VCR and then get in trouble for it. VCR, children, is a video cassette recorder, which is what you use to play your VHSs.
Had to be on channel 3 or channel 4.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. Just like the video game consoles.
Mine was always channel 4 because channel 3 was an actual channel in my house.
Yeah.
It was like ABC or something like that. It was channel 4. Yeah. You remember VHF and UHF?
Yes.
Yes. That's when the Saturday morning westerns were on, then the sci-fi in the afternoons.
I remember having to turn to channel 57 to watch Voltron after school.
Well, that's also where the after-school cartoons were on when they had after-school cartoons, you know.
And the Saturday morning cartoons and all that good shit from our youth.
Cartoons.
Should do an episode on Saturday morning cartoons.
Oh man, kids today, man, did they miss out? They were forced to grow up too early.
No, they can go over to Me TV and watch Saturday morning cartoons up until 10:00. Bugs Bunny, Woody Woodpecker,
Smurfs.
No, they ain't got Smurfs. They got Woody Woodpecker and shit.
I used to watch
Snorks.
the Smurfs, and then I watched the Snorks, and then I'd watch the Gummy Bears, and then I'd watch Dungeons and Dragons, and then whatever other crazy ass Saturday morning cartoon they
Bunny,
had.
the Gummy Bears,
G.I. Joe. I think G.I. Joe was after school though.
What was it called?
That was
Tiger
before
Cats?
school
Was
for
it
me.
Thundercats?
Thundercats. All right, we're doing the Saturday morning cartoon
keep
episode
going.
early. Let's save that for another episode. So, Mike, is it easy to say that Goonies still holds up?
Oh yeah, it still holds up.
Mhm. I think it's
still
had a
love
resurgence.
Watch that.
I think it's had a resurgence.
It's had a resurgence, yeah.
Hugh Kwan winning the Oscar. I think it's kind of come back a little bit. And I've been like for years I've been hearing them talk about like a sequel that was going to take place 30 years later and was going to be about like their kids or something like that. And like
No,
I've been hearing about it forever. I don't think it's ever going to happen. Although I said the same thing about Beetlejuice, but no, they're already filming Beetlejuice 2. So who knows?
Yeah.
The 30-year sequel is the thing.
it was
Yes.
just on the other day, and Adrian was watching. And goes, which is going to be is an idea for a segment or a show for us. Because I don't know if I've ever seen this all the way through. Is it anything like the cartoon?
Yeah.
No.
So is the episode going to be movies we aren't sure we've seen all the way through?
No. Episode
Movies that became cartoons?
that weren't anything like the movie.
Oh, yeah. Rambo the cartoon, RoboCop the cartoon. There was like this resurgence in the 80s of cartoons based on R-rated films.
Yes. So that's going to be a good episode. We can
Beetlejuice the cartoon. Oh my God, what else was there?
Ghostbusters.
There was a Bill and
There
Ted's
was
Excellent
There
Adventure.
was a Back to the Future one,
Back to the
but that was a
Future.
little bit later, yeah.
There was a Bill and Ted. There was an Ace Ventura cartoon for a while. Yeah, it was like R-rated films turned into cartoons. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Rambo the Saturday morning cartoon. Here's a
Wasn't
wholesome
there a
cartoon
Bo-
for you kids.
Bo Jackson? Was it Bo?
Did Bo Jackson have a cartoon? I
Didn't
wouldn't be
he have his own
surprised.
cartoon?
I really wouldn't be
think he did.
surprised. I remember,
Yeah.
like, you had the Mr. T cartoon,
You had the WW, you had the wrestlers
WWF,
cartoon.
Rocking Wrestling. We're doing a cartoon episode again. Let's save that for later.
Yeah.
So Kev, your birthday's next. So why don't you give me a movie tip from your list?
Well, I'll stick with. I mean, Spielberg was executive producer of Goonies, right? He didn't direct that. He was just an executive.
He was
producer.
a producer. Yeah, the director was it
Donner?
Was it Donner? Was it Richard Donner? I believe it was. Yeah, it's Richard
I
Donner.
think it was Richard Donner. Yeah.
I wanted to say Chris Columbus, but he was a writer of the film. Well, he wrote the film.
Oh, did he?
He wrote Chris
I
Columbus.
thought he was too young for his directorial debut, right?
Spielberg and Columbus were co-writers on the film, and Donner directed it.
Okay, so I'm gonna shift into that Spielberg area and say one was E.T.
Okay.
That's a
E.T.
good
was
one.
mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How's it going?
And they changed it when they had the 25th anniversary, and they reissued, and they
Took the guns out.
took the guns out and changed them to walkie-talkies, and everybody had to duck with the walkie-talkie. But look, I mean, some of the changes they made, I guess, kind of added a little bit more to it. The CGI ET, but I like the grittiness, the darkness of it. You never really got a great shot until Elliot brings in his brother and sister, and it's the light hanging, and that's when you get like the first shot of like his face.
I mean, for practical effects, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I consider this a Halloween movie.
Okay.
I think
he does go out of
Halloween.
Halloween.
Is a Halloween movie. Yeah.
That's when he sees Yoda.
It's when he sees Yoda. Home. I also feel
we would later find out in Attack of the Clones that he was part of the Galactic Senate.
I also feel a lot of the 80s movies, especially like you had mentioned Goonies, there's E.T., the Karate Kid, it kind of also energized the want for a bike gang, not like a motorbike gang, like a
ride your bikes everywhere.
Ride your bikes everywhere, I wanted the red hoodie with the basket on the front. I wanted that bike.
But you had to have a BMX bike.
Yeah,
BMX. It had to be BMX.
Mm-hmm.
My earliest memory of this, so this movie came out in 1982. So I would have been 5. So I definitely didn't see this in the theater. I remember seeing it. I want to say I saw it on cable. I remember when I was a kid, our cable was a box on the TV with a dial, and you would either turn it this way to go to regular TV or this way to go to Prism. And Prism was the only cable station we had. And if you were lucky, you got a movie, and if you weren't lucky, you got a Sixers game, which seemed to be on all the time. So I remember watching E.T. on cable, and it's probably on Prism. And I remember the first thing I remember of it is where he's hiding in all the stuffed animals in the closet, and Gertie sees him for the first time. And yeah, that's something I remember from it.
And the thing about this movie, like, he never scared me. E.T. The only time E.T. scared me was when he was like sickly. Yeah. Right. The things that scared me were the humans that were coming in. Those were the more ominous and terrifying,
especially in the hazmat suits.
Right, in the hazmat suits, or the whole scene where Elliot's mother has her, and she has him, and she's trying to get out of the house, and they're coming through everything. I was like, oh my god, that was more terrifying than E.T. was.
Now, my first recollection, so I would have been 8 when this came out. And I do remember seeing this in the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest takeaway when I was a kid was I loved the movie was Why do they use Reese's Pieces and not M&Ms?
Oh. At Mars screwed themselves over on that one.
And then there was like I think there was like a 300% profit increase for Reese's Pieces after the movie came out.
Of course, yeah.
Hershey made out that just helped seal the deal for them. I mean, they were popular, but like the movie really product placement. Product placement.
I'm gonna say something with this though. It wasn't like a rewatched movie for me as a kid. Like it wasn't one that I watched a lot. I remember watching it often.
It was
for me because it had to be like on cable. I didn't have it on VHS or anything like that. So
I thought it was on HBO a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been. I didn't have HBO till like a lot later. So
it was one of those ones where we recorded it on one of the blank tapes, and it was like E.T., Star Wars, Annie, and it was all in order. And that would be our sick day tape. Okay, you're on the couch. Price is Right isn't on for a while, so pulled that in and just start going through it. And that would be it, because you've seen them before. If you fall asleep, you fall asleep, but it's there.
Yeah.
I want to say I watched E.T. maybe last Halloween.
It's been a while since
it might have been like actually playing on one of like the live stations, and I was like, "Oh, E.T." and just turned it on.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember exactly when the last time it was I saw it. But yeah, it wasn't too long ago. But
and
yeah,
that's a
great rewatch.
I think the actors all had moderately decent success following it. Thomas Henry? Or Henry Thomas?
Henry Thomas was
Henry
Elliot.
Thomas I've seen a resurgence of him, especially with the horror stuff that's on Netflix. Drew Barrymore, we know, was very successful afterwards. The woman who played Elliot's mother, she was still, she was more of a character actress. But they still had moderate success after the movie.
See, Thomas Howell was one of the friends. He would go on to play Pony Boy in The Outsiders the year after this.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot that he was one of the friends.
But yeah, that's a great one. Good rewatch. Let me see. I'm going to go to my list. I'm not going to go in order. So like I said, I had trouble with it. I couldn't believe how much trouble I had with this. Because there were a lot of movies I rewatched as a kid. And I'm looking at this now. I'm like, there's some I probably shouldn't be watching as a kid. But they were on my rewatch list anyway. And I had two movies on here that I couldn't remember if they were my movies or movies that my sisters watched all the time. And one was Grease, the other was Muppets Take Manhattan. And I'm fairly certain they were both movies that my sisters watched all the time. But I feel like I was always watching them too because they were always watching them.
I love the Muppets.
I do too, but I don't think this was one of my actual films. So I ended up.
That would be the Muppet movie. Over the Muppets.
I used to like the Muppets. The Great Muppet Caper was one of my favorites.
Great Muppet Caper was good too.
But so I ended up having a list of what ended up being like 7 films because I was having a lot of trouble like narrowing it down. One of them's already eliminated because Mike had Goonies on his and I have Goonies on mine, so that knocks it down to 6 now for me. So I'm going to go a little out of order. I'm going to save my top 3 for later. I'm going to start from the bottom. The bottom is a movie that I probably shouldn't have watched a lot as a kid. It's not exactly a kid's film.
Poltergeist.
It's not Poltergeist. It's not. Before you say it, it's not Porky's. It is
the Nerds.
No, I thought about putting it on there, but I was like, no. I was probably a little older the first time I saw that. This movie came out in 1985, and I remember I did see this in the theater. I begged my parents to take me to see this movie because the commercial looked so like over the top and funny. But then it ended up not really being much of a kid's movie, even though it was only PG-13. I'm going to see if you guys can guess this. It's a John Hughes film. Not one of his like normal like high school angsty John Hughes films. This was more of a sci-fi film. In fact, science is in the title.
Weird Science.
I used to watch Weird Science.
My creation.
All the time. So this movie came out in 85.
Creation.
So again, I was 8 years old when this movie came out, and I made my parents take me to the theater to see this. And like one of the first
and
scenes,
they took you?
Yeah. And when like my mom and dad had no idea. Like I just said, "Mom, this movie looks funny. I want to go see this funny movie." I even think my sister Dana was with us, and she was like 4.
Oh my God.
She's too young to remember anything. But like we went to see this, and like one of the first scenes is them measuring the boobs on the computer screen, and they make them like real big, and the guy's like, no, you don't want them too big. You get the risk of spraining your thumbs. My mom's like, I can't believe we're watching this right now. My dad was having a good time.
I remember watching this when it came out on HBO, and I watched it a lot.
I gotta say, I don't think I've actually ever seen it.
You've never seen Weird Science?
I don't think I've. I mean, I know of it. I know it was.
But they based a Saturday morning cartoon on this.
Did they?
No. Actually, that one is on my list of movies that time forgot lists.
Really? Weird Science? See, to me, it's not because I haven't forgot it. I actually watched it not too long ago.
Yeah, but everybody else in the world has forgotten it.
I will say it's probably a lesser known John Hughes because it's such a weird John Hughes film.
Yeah,
like it has a lot of the hallmarks of his like teen comedies, but it's also a weird sci-fi film as well. So it's about two guys who create a woman. They're not popular in school. They're nerdy, so they create a woman. The woman's 80 supermodel Kelly LeBrock is the woman that they create, and she has like all these like magical powers that she uses to help make them popular and help them become, get them out of their shells and all this stuff. And all this crazy shit happens. There's a scene where they're having a party at the house
on their head when they create her.
Yeah, they wear a bra on their heads. Yeah, it's funny. It's silly. I remember taping it off of cable when it first came to cable, and then like just rewatch. I had a VCR in my bedroom, so I just rewatch movies all the time in my bedroom when I could get away from my sisters. So
look at the hoity-toity guy over here with a VCR in his bedroom.
When I got old enough and I had a job of my own, I bought one of those TVs with the VCR built in. I could time record shit. I was fancy.
I got one that was a VCR DVD mix, and that way I didn't have to get rid of my VCR, my VHSs.
Yeah, I had one of those too. But I love Weird Science is one I love, man. It's my earliest memory, like I said, is going to the theater to see this with my parents, which is a weird thing, but I did it. And is it to me it's rewatchable. Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Movies I tricked my parents into taking
weird movies you've seen with your parents, because they have at least 3 that really were awkward. One of which involved Aunt Dot.
I can't only imagine. I've watched a few movies with your mom that were kind of weird, or with your mom that were kind of weird. Not even the Dot. We watched Existence with your parents.
That's a great movie, though.
That's what you kept saying as we're watching it. Going, what the hell are we watching, Kev? What was I going to say? To me, it's kind of a rewatchable film. I don't know if it's the test of time.
The computer is outdated?
The computer shit is very outdated.
I got a whole 120 megabytes of hard drive space on this.
Probably a little problematic with some of the jokes in the film. But,
probably.
But I enjoyed it, as a kid. It had moments that weren't like really kid movie moments, but it was silly enough that it was still kind of like enjoyable as a kid.
Yes.
So that was me. Weird Science. So back to you, Mike.
I'm going to bring it back to kid level here.
Okay.
All right. I'm going with The Secret of
Nim.
You said a great one.
As soon as you said I'm going to bring it back to kid level here, I'm like, this is going to be definitely a horrifying kid movie.
The Secret of Nim.
It's such a good horrifying kid movie.
It is.
Man, I forgot all about that. Yeah, I love that movie.
So you guys saw that meme I sent you the other day. It was the 80s kid trauma starter pack.
Yeah,
and it was like Artax drowning in the swamp. Secret of Nim wasn't on there, but it should have been.
Was that a Don Bluth?
That is
Don
Bluth. It's a United Artist. I know that.
Well, Don Bluth.
It happened.
Don Bluth was like the 80s animation king at the time with All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Well, what happened was The Secret of Nim was right after all these Disney artists left Disney and went to United Artists, and they made this because you can see how it looks like a Disney film.
It is Don Bluth. You're correct.
Man, I'm good. Film.
But yeah, this is a fucked up movie, man.
That's a great movie.
I'm looking at
It's
the
a
trailer
great
now. I'm looking at the
movie.
trailer now, and I'm getting creeped out by the old like wizard rat with the glowing eyes, like
Nicodemus.
Nicodemus.
Come on, she saves all the rats
She saves the rats.
magically.
The rats of Nim.
Nicodemus was voiced by Derek Jacobi.
Brownie points to either one of you who can name what did NIM stand for?
Oh, wasn't it like something mental hospital
National Institute
for Mental Health.
Mental Health.
Yeah, The Secret in Nim. Ooh. Will Wheaton did one of the voices in this film.
Did he?
Yeah. I'm looking at the list here. You got Will Wheaton, Peter Strauss, John Carradine, Shannon Doherty did a voice.
Wow.
Derek Jacobi, Dom DeLuise.
Dom DeLuise was the crow or the raven or something.
Jeremy, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mike, what's your earliest memory of seeing this?
I saw this in the theater.
Oh, my God.
I'm old, guys.
I would have been hiding in my popcorn.
Oh, I loved it. That was my kind of cartoon.
Mm.
Well, you're a big fan of like the Lord of the Rings cartoon, and I feel like it has a similar style to that.
Yeah.
That's sort of like almost realistic motion.
Doesn't it seem like this could have been a movie done by Neil Gaiman?
Oh yeah,
You
very
know?
much. Very
Yeah.
much. So. It's a very like a
Dark.
Coraline, American Gods type story.
Mm-hmm.
My earliest memory of this was being fucking terrified.
He's still terrified by
I'm
this
watching
movie
the trailer now, and it's freaking me out. Like
That's sad.
I enjoyed this movie, and I won't say that there weren't scary parts. You know, even animated blood is still blood, but this was one that was in our rotation. This was a I'm sick or I'm bored kind of put a movie in kind of thing.
this shows you the difference in time periods, because I remember this being like one of the ones, like if I turned the cable on in the morning, this was on.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was like, oh, it's the morning time for the kids' movies. And this
I think if I rewatched this today, I'd pick up things that I definitely missed as a kid.
I'm sure. I don't think I've watched it since I was a kid. Mike,
Would
have you
you
watched
want
this
to
at all
watch it
recently?
again?
Not recently, but I have seen it in the last 5-6 years.
Yeah, I would probably watch it again just out of some like morbid curiosity. Like, is it as scary now as it was when I was a kid?
Mm-hmm.
I would assume not, because I've watched some fucked up shit over the last couple of years. But like, this came out in 82.
What year did it come out?
82.
82.
82.
So you would have been.
I was 5, so I definitely didn't see this in the theater.
I was 8.
This was definitely a cable film for me. I know it was one we didn't have on VHS because it probably freaked my sisters out too much. But I definitely remember watching this as a kid. And I don't want to like step on anybody else's movies, but whenever I think of Nim, there's always 3 movies that like I immediately like rotate between. It's Secret of Nim, Watership Down.
Oh yeah.
And even though it's not an animated film, it's because it's puppets, Dark Crystal. Like all three of those movies like always kind of float around my head because they all kind of like
they're all darker,
similarly creepy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Labyrinth to a lesser extent. That's a little more.
Well, that's just because you're more
happier.
scared of of what's his name and his tight.
You're not scared of David Bowie and his codpiece.
Yeah, David Bowie's codpiece. That's the scariest thing in the film.
And it is.
It's the scariest thing.
Nothing. Tra la la.
Scariest thing in the film is his codpiece and his obsession with a 16-year-old Jennifer Connelly.
In all fairness. It's a 16-year-old Jennifer Connelly. It's a Jennifer Connelly.
So
Kevin,
what was your turn? Oh my God! Man, you moved on. I wanted to say that other Jennifer Connelly movie that was really
the one
awesome.
where she rides the hobby horse.
Yes. It took place in a Target before Target was even up here.
I can't think of the name
Opportunity
of the movie.
Knocks.
Was it Career Opportunities?
Career Opportunities.
Yeah. Wasn't
Look,
that who was the other guy?
We're
Who's
on
that
the
was
same age now. We're fine. She's actually older than us. We're fine.
that was a very young Frank Whaley. It was the guy in it.
Yes,
Frank
it
Whaley and
was.
Jennifer Connelly.
Mhm. And Dermot Mulroney too.
Yeah. Just missing the cut for me on this list were Labyrinth, because that came out in '86. So I don't think I watched it enough at that point to put it on this list. And Princess Bride, which came out in '87.
Yeah.
So, both of those films would have definitely been rewatchables had they had fallen into this time period I gave myself. So Kev, what's your next one?
My next one is actually my first movie, the one that my parents had taken me to, which was
Porky's.
No. Yeah, my mom would have gone for that.
I couldn't trick my parents into that at 6 years old.
It was the Muppet movie.
The original one?
The original Muppet movie. My mom she would tell
Moving
me.
right along.
Yeah, she told me I sat motionless on her lap.
Yeah.
And I want to say it might have been 3, right? Or 1? I don't even know. When
that's
did
a
that
pretty
come
early
out?
film. I'm looking it up now.
79?
No, it's not that early.
Muppet movie.
Yeah.
It was 80s.
The original Muppet movie, if I can find it. Where the fuck is it?
Maybe 1980.
Oh, here it is. 1979.
1979.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
1 year old. Sitting there motionless for 2 hours or close enough. And just entranced in Kermit and Fozzie and Piggy and Gonzo and Rolf, And I still say while I'm driving, bear left, frog right,
Yeah.
There's a fork in the road. Well, that's ridiculous, Yeah, that's one of
Have
my
you seen the song? Moving right along.
Moving right along. Footloose and fancy free. I learned what a Studebaker was. I learned the difference between miss and myth. I like the incorporation of the Sesame Street gang into it.
Rainbow Connection.
Rainbow Connection.
I mean,
one of those songs that gets me right here.
My earliest memory is the fork in the road joke. Because there actually was like a fork in the road, and so I didn't get the joke because I was a kid, like little. Like I just laughed because there was a giant fork in the road.
Yeah, a lot of jokes were a little over our heads.
So that's one of the beauties of the Muppets. Like you watch the Muppet Show now.
Oh my
the
Lord.
Original Muppet Show. Like there's so many like segments where I'm like, man, I never would have got that as a kid.
No.
Like my favorite segment on the original Muppet Show was whenever they would do the dances, and they would just cut between the different couples having like weird conversations, and there was always like some like bizarre joke that was like definitely over my head as a kid.
And that got me. I mean, I love Sesame Street, obviously, but like that got me into all the Muppet movies to follow, And I look forward to like the obscure, like the Christmas toy. I look for Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas.
Oh yes,
you can blow the jug.
You can.
I watch it every Christmas.
Every Christmas. There's a Muppet Christmas special that was aired on CBS. You can't find the DVD anywhere, but you can watch it in its entirety on YouTube, and I do it every year.
Nice.
It's amazing.
So
watch out for the icy patch.
You ever watch the Emmett and Otter bloopers?
Yes.
So it's me then, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So my next film, again, I don't know as a kid if I should have been watching this a lot, but again, it was a movie where it had enough jokes for me to enjoy, and enough jokes that were over my head that it really didn't matter until I got older and I understood the jokes better. And oddly enough, Kev, we were talking about this earlier. What are you showing your kids right now?
Oh, yeah.
Young Frankenstein.
I watched Young Frankenstein all the fucking time. Now, that movie came out in 1974. I was not even born yet. I was born in 77. But I remember See, my dad was a big Mel Brooks fan, so we had a lot of like Mel Brooks movies that he had on like VHS and stuff.
Mhm.
And even though like I love like History of the World's one of my favorites, and Blazing Saddles and all, as a kid, Young
Spaceballs.
Frankenstein was the one I watched the most. And it was just like there was just enough jokes in it that made me laugh as a kid, like the Frau Blucher thing with the horses, and whatever else there was, like just enough. And then I got older, and as I got older and watched it more, and I started catching a lot of the other like subtle jokes, like the enormous Handstucker and Roll in the
This-
Hay and all that stuff.
What a set
Yeah,
of knockers!
Young
Thank you, Doctor.
Frankenstein was actually one of the ones that I didn't watch till later in life.
Mhm.
Really?
I watched all the other ones. Young Frankenstein was I didn't see later until way later.
I feel
It
like
was on in my house, but I didn't watch it. My mother was like, "No, that's an adult. You'll watch that later."
I feel like my parents were kind of like forgiving of it because it was a black and white film, so it looked a lot like an older film. And B, it was one that they enjoyed too, so it wasn't like too much of a torture for them to have to watch it all the time.
Mhm.
I
And
think
now
that's the
I
reason I
watched
didn't get to
this
see it till
last
later.
night.
It was black and white.
So this is one of our Halloween rewatches every year. So Katie and I watched it last night, and I love when I watch a movie that I've watched so many times and something makes me laugh out of nowhere. And it wasn't even like something that I hadn't noticed before. It's just for some reason last night it tickled me a different way than before. And it was the scene at the train station when he's leaving for Transylvania and saying goodbye to Madeline Kahn. And I'm like, Madeline Kahn was a national fucking treasure.
Yeah.
So she says to him, "Oh, I love you so much, Freddie. How can I say in a few words what it's taking me a lifetime to understand?" And she goes, "Won't you try?" And she goes, "All right." Just like,
You got it,
all right,
mister.
you got it, mister. Like, but the "all right" was the thing that got me. He's like, "Won't you try?" All right. Or the
Taffeta,
Taffeta,
darling.
darling. No, the dress is Taffeta.
Wrinkles so easily.
She's a national treasure, man. I love everything Madeline Kahn does.
Mhm.
From that to the History of the World line that I love, where she's like, "Would you please step on the same foot at the same time? My tits are falling off."
Underappreciated Madeline Kahn moment. Movie called Mixed Nuts, Christmas movie.
Mhm.
And she's stuck in the elevator, and everybody said they'll get around to helping her out, and they completely forget because of everything going on. And you just hear her from the hallway going, "Hey,
I love her in Blazing Saddles with the "I'm tired of playing the
oh,
game."
tired." Let's face it,
Everything
I'm
below the waist is kaput.
I showed my wife this joke, a meme I saw, because she loves the pumpkin spice lattes from Starbucks, like that's her thing. And it was the scene from Blazing Saddles, and it's Gene Wilder, and underneath his face it says Starbucks, and then he pulls Cleavon Little out from behind a rock, and he's like, "Where the white women at?" And it says pumpkin spice latte underneath his face. But getting back to Young Frankenstein, another movie that, man, like I never get tired of it. The fact that I wait till Halloween every year to watch it makes it like new to
Better.
me again, because I give myself a
Yes.
year in between.
You crave it. You want to watch it again.
There's a good chance I'll watch it like one more time before Halloween's over. But yeah, I love Young Frankenstein. I definitely watched it a lot as a kid. It was one of those tapes that I think I destroyed watching it so much, even more so than Spaceballs, which was another one I watched a lot. So back to you, Mike.
So I want to bring it back to kid level again to you.
Okay.
I'm going with a Disney film,
Mm-hmm.
The Sword and the Stone.
Yeah, I love Sword and the Stone.
Oh, that's a good one.
Mhm.
I watched the hell out of that.
Yeah.
I
What a
remember.
Robin Hood.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Robin Hood with the fox, where you used the fox as Robin Hood.
Those were the two.
Mhm.
I remember those. Remember they used to do. I think it was like Sunday nights. They would do the Wonderful World of Disney, like
Wonderful
Sunday night
World of
movie.
Disney. Mhm.
Yeah, and Robin Hood and Sword and the Stone were like always regulars on that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I have to go. And I haven't watched Sword and the Stone in a long time.
No.
I gotta watch it
Okay,
again.
I might have to rewatch it now. Yeah, I'm like thinking, I might have to rewatch a lot of these.
Well, I just saw Goonies the other night because it was on. It was like Goonies. What was it? It was Goonies, Lost Boys, Beetlejuice on the Paramount Network, all back to back to back. Like, oh, great! This is a great 6 hours of let's do nothing.
Yeah, right. And you're going way back on this one. This is the earliest one we've had so far. Sword and Stone came out in 1963.
Oh yeah, this is older than I was. I know that.
By what, like 3 years?
Gently extend your arm. Gently extend your middle finger.
Take hold of the crank and turn slowly to get the desired effect. Get back to this though. Yeah, like this is like
a good Disney movie that's lost. I mean, it really is. In Disney World, you have the sword and the stone, and it's there. But how many people who go there remember that particular movie?
I remember what was the owl's name? Archimedes.
Archimedes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember the owl. I remember Merlin showing up in Hawaiian shorts or whatever it was, or
Blast me to Bermuda.
And it's another thing I love about a film like this from 1960. Man, it's only an hour and 20 minutes.
Yes,
I love me a good short film.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, you can see how it's hand drawn. It's not, you can because you see it in the how it's in the animation. It's really nice.
And even though it's 20 years or so before the one that you had mentioned before, Nim, like you see a little bit of that similarity in the animation style.
Yeah, the Disney animation style. Yeah,
like Black Cauldron would be another one I think of that like kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, I love the Black Cauldron, but that's talk about a movie that time forgot.
Yeah, this is a good one, man. That's a really good one. Kev, what's your next one?
My next one is one that got me kind of infatuated with Ali Sheedy in the 80s.
Is this going to be the Breakfast Club?
No.
Okay.
This also had Steve Guttenberg and a very, very misplaced Fisher. Why can't I think of his first name? I know his last name is Fisher, playing an Indian man.
Oh, this is Short Circuit.
Short Circuit, yeah.
This is what was his name?
Something Fisher.
Was it Ray Fisher?
Ray Fisher. I think that was it. Hold on.
I'm looking it up now. Hold on. So that's Short Circuit. Johnny Five.
Johnny Five is alive.
Another movie that's on my movies that time forgot list.
Well, we're clearing a lot of them out tonight, Mike.
Fisher
Stevens. Fisher Stevens. Yeah,
okay.
Fisher Stevens as Ben Ben Ubatuya.
I mean, this is the whole lineup is 80s movies, actors and actresses. Ali Sheedy, Steve Guttenberg, Fisher Stevens, Austin Pendleton, G.W. Bailey. I mean, you can't get any more 80s in this movie.
I'll tell you what I remember. My first memory of this is I had seen Police Academy prior to seeing this. Again, another movie I probably should have never seen as a kid. But did and probably could put that on my list of rewatchables as well. But I remember watching Short Circuit for the first time going, that's the sergeant from Police Academy when G.W. Bailey popped up on the screen.
And he always played the same kind of character every time.
Except when he was on MASH and he was
he's militant and, by the book, and I'm going to get this guy,
Well, some actors, they find their niche.
Yeah.
Fisher Stevens didn't, and he's been apologizing for his film ever since.
Well, I mean, look, Ben Kingsley did it. Fisher Stevens did it. It's like, could we not hire
Ben Kingsley? I think Ben Kingsley actually is like partially Indian, though, at least.
Really?
I think he might be. Like,
Well, he did win the Oscar for playing one.
For playing
Yes,
one,
he
yeah, I know.
did.
So, what's your opinion on Short Circuit 2, Electric Boogaloo?
Oh no!
I need a hero.
Where Fisher
No.
Stevens is the star of the film.
Yes, he is. They couldn't get Ali Sheedy and Steve
Where Steve
Gutenberg. to come back.
Gutenberg was on his way to doing 3 Men and a Baby at that point.
Yeah.
They
The
got
pinnacle
what's
of his
name?
career.
Keane. Why can't I think of his name now? Keane. Is Christopher Keane or
Who was in the second film?
yeah?
It was Fisher Stevens was top billed. And
Yes, it is.
Michael McKean, who played
Michael
Lenny
McKean.
on Laverne and Shirley.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, but the first one, I will agree. The first one's a fun film.
Mhm.
Yes.
It's at the height of the powers of the Goot.
Mm-hmm.
He's also coming off a Police Academy as well.
Yeah.
This is 1986, so I was 9 when this came out. So right on the cusp
That was
of
great.
my
I was
rewatchable
at
years.
12. So
But this is a good one. I like this one. Johnny Five is alive.
No disassemble.
All right, my next one.
woman.
My next one. I'm gonna sing a song and see if you can guess it. You're the best around. Nothing's gonna
Karate
get you down. I watched this.
Again, everybody
fucking
wanted a
movie.
bike.
I wanted to learn the crane kick.
Yes.
I remember watching this movie.
What's up?
So this movie came out in 1984, so I was 7.
Mhm.
Again, this is definitely a movie I saw either on cable or rewatched on like VHS all the time.
Yeah,
I didn't
It
see
was
this
always
in the
on
movies.
cable.
I saw Karate Kid 2 in the movies.
I'm sorry.
I got the book from the was the book thing that comes
book fairs that we used to have in school, the Scholastic
Yes.
book fairs.
Yes, Scholastic
I-
book fair. I had the book.
I remember watching Karate Kid, and every time I rewatched it, I would imitate all the moves, man. Like I tried to do everything. I tried to do the wax on, wax off, all that shit, the crane kick, and everything, man. Like I'm pretty sure I hurt one of my sisters at some point with one of the moves.
I just wanted to be an Italian in California.
Yeah, I just wanted to be Tony LaRusso. I wanted to date Elizabeth Shue.
Who didn't want to date Elizabeth Shue?
No kid who did not. Want
I just wanted to do the crane kick.
you still want today? You still want to date
I would still
Elizabeth
date
Shue?
Elizabeth Shue.
Oh, absolutely.
She was in The Boys first season. She looked pretty good, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Phils are losing 5-0 in the bottom of the 8th right now. They're 5-4 in the bottom of the 8th.
I'm losing now.
They're losing 5-4. All right, back to the Karate Kid. It's funny though. It's
yeah,
like I feel like the most quotable lines in this though are all like from the bad guys. Like put him in a body bag, sweep the
Sweep
leg,
the leg, Johnny. Yeah.
no mercy.
No mercy.
Yeah, and then if you want to talk about
no.
quotable lines,
You got Mr. Miyagi. You begin a luck.
you'll
When he
begin a
kisses the fly.
you are when he finally realizes that all the shit he had him doing around the house was ways of learning how to defend yourself. Like, man, I was all about this fucking movie.
Mhm.
I remember a little later in life buying a bonsai tree and being so pathetic at horticulture that I managed to kill a bonsai tree.
No. You bought a bonsai tray. I bought the Karate Kid toys.
I had
know?
the Karate Kid toys too. I had the Karate Kid video game for Nintendo.
I had the arena that they held.
Yeah. Nintendo Children was a gaming system.
There's still a Nintendo nowadays. It's
Yeah,
called the
I know.
Switch.
But I fucking love
With
Karate Kid.
action
Man.
kick movements.
What I like about Karate Kid 2, man, just ends. Kicks Johnny in the face, cut the Miyagi smiling, freeze frame, end. They don't go back to the fact that he used an illegal move to win the tournament.
No.
Just ends. And I used to love this to warming your hands up to like do whatever the hell he did.
Pop the
Oh,
tip back
man.
into place.
But man, whew, Elizabeth Shue. So yeah, I love Karate Kid. So Mike, what's your next one?
The next two that I have, I cheated on
Mm-hmm.
because I went Star Wars movies.
Okay, I have New Hope on my list.
It
So like,
works.
I didn't want to put all the movies, even though I watched them a lot. New Hope was the one I watched all the time. So
Mhm.
I watched all of them. Well, if I watched one, I watched three.
I
If
mean,
could.
of course, at the time we only had the three. So
Or before three, if I watched one, I watched the two.
well, so I definitely didn't see the New Hope in the theater since it came out the year I was born.
Yeah, I didn't see the hope.
No.
I saw
I think
Empire
Return of the
and
Jedi was the first one I
Jedi.
saw in theaters.
I saw both of them. I saw Empire and Jedi. the
Jedi
theater.
was the second film I ever saw at the movies. The first film I saw was Popeye. Not by
And
choice.
that's not on your list?
Not by choice. I was 3 years old. No, that movie terrified me. That movie scared the shit out of me. All I remember about that experience was screaming so much that they took me out of the theater.
Did Popeye scare you more than The Secret of Nim?
Well, I was 3 years old, and there's a scene where he's fighting an octopus. It was pretty freaking scary.
Well, that was me with 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Hated the octopus that came up.
That was me. That was me when Data talked about the octopus and Goonies that we never got to see. Octopus is really scary. But who was? Mike, you were talking. Go ahead. Go. Star Wars.
Star Wars, you know. What can we all say about Star Wars that we haven't said already?
Ahsoka was fucking awesome.
Yes, I finished Ahsoka. Yes, I've not started Loki yet, so
I was let down on the last couple episodes of Ahsoka. I thought they were not as.
What
What the
just
hell is that? Kevin gave a thumbs up, and a thumb up bubble just appeared on the screen. That's definitely a MacBook thing. You got a MacBook thing, right? That's definitely a MacBook thing. Go do like that.
okay.
For those of you watching the YouTube version of this, we've
What the hell?
apparently Kevin just climaxed.
That's all, folks.
I know what clip I'm putting on TikTok. Kevin's discovery of his emoji reader on his MacBook. I didn't even know that was a
for
thing.
business, no, but it's a lot of laughs.
I didn't even know that was a thing. We're gonna have to play around with it, find out what other things you can do. Let's see. Hey! Oh yeah, two thumbs. Ooh, it's right.
It starts right.
We are discovering things, folks. Back to Star Wars.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and move on to Kevin.
Yeah, what's your next movie?
I don't know if I'm ready for my next movie. I can barely breathe. Jesus
That was
Christ.
great.
Well,
If you make like a mad face, does it make a mad face emoji on your screen?
What? No, but it gives me a
but it
headache.
gives you a headache, I guess, right?
Okay.
All right, if we're talking the VHS, and I have to, and you just brought up Star Wars, which was on the same cassette as Annie.
Mm.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, David Copperfield was on the damn thing too, with Annie coming through and being, I don't know, Mary Lou Henner or somebody on the other end.
It's a hard not life for us.
Look, man, I honestly, if I'm being honest, it was a good movie. You know, it had Albert Finney. Albert, come on, help me out.
Finney.
Albert Finney as Daddy Warbucks. It had Carol Burnett as
She was the orphanage lady.
the orphanage lady. It had Tim Curry. It had Bernadette Peters.
And I know you love Bernadette Peters.
Oh my God, man! How did she do it? does she do it? She looks
wait.
amazing. She always looks
Thumbs up
amazing.
again. He's about to glow.
That's a multiple climax. Well, I'm so taken aback by your emoji reader on your MacBook that I don't even know, is Annie the movie you were talking about, or did that
Yes.
come out of a conversation of something else?
No. And
We
I actually was
deviated so many
concerned.
times tonight. I have no fucking clue what's going on anymore. All I
I
know
was very
is
concerned with the train tracks that came up because it was a drawbridge with train tracks and her climbing the train tracks. I was like, that's really high.
all
I
I,
hope she's
all I know
okay.
is we're at an hour and a half already, and I have to edit this tonight.
Yeah, that's why I said we need to keep moving along. Movies.
Well, I gave you mine. Take
It's
it
a
as
hard not life for
Life
us.
for us.
So,
It's
what's
a
your
hard
opinion
time.
of the remake?
I never watched the remake.
Yeah, you don't have to.
I didn't plan to.
So my
It's
next
a
one,
remake.
I don't think I've seen the remake. Mm-mm.
my next one. What can I say? But we're on a mission from God.
Oh, nice.
Blues Brothers,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
The
a good
Blues
one.
Brothers, man, I love the Blues Brothers. Another one I can
Oh,
watch
yeah.
all the time now.
Yes. I get the jokes.
I get the jokes now. I mean, back then it was still another. There's one of the things about these like early '80s films was there was enough like goofy slapstick in it that I could be entertained as a kid, and enough jokes that I can enjoy it later on in life too. Plus, the movie came out in 1980. Carrie Fisher,
Yep.
you know, a couple of years later, she's in Jedi, so I'd already had a crush on her. You know, it's kind of a thing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Plus, it's a very highly quotable film. Arguably the best SNL skit turned to film. I mean, you know, you can probably argue maybe Wayne's World, but I think Blues Brothers is probably slightly superior.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Because on top of everything, it's basically a musical, and a good musical at that.
True.
There's a lot of entertaining film songs in that film, and one of the largest car chases and car crashes ever recorded on film.
And that's at a time when Dukes of Hazzard was still around.
And you can never forget them going into the country bar with the band and singing Rawhide for so many hours.
This next one is a favorite of the band. Stand by your man. They basically say what they say: stand by your man, and a bunch of TV Western theme songs.
Mostly Rawhide.
Mostly Rawhide. They were the good old boy, the good old Blues Brothers boys band. Oh God, I love that movie. So, Mike, what is your last one, right?
My last one is another cheat.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek movies.
I was about to say Indiana Jones films.
No, Star Trek movies because I watched like Khan and Search for Spock and over and over and over and over and over. Khan!
Yeah. I came to the Star Trek films a little later.
Mm-hmm.
I was always Star Wars growing up. I think I remember watching Wrath of Khan early, but not much of the other films until later. You know, later on when I could appreciate it more after I got into like Next Gen and things like that.
Yeah, so it was in the 90s when by the time you got.
Well, I'd watched Wrath of Khan a couple times, and I'd seen Search for Spock a few times, and it wasn't until like the 90s when I started watching the rest of the films and kind of really didn't care for anything other than Wrath of Khan and maybe Voyage Home.
Why does God need a starship? Oh,
yeah, I did not like that one. I do like Undiscovered Country. I thought that was a good one.
Yeah.
The
I like
latest
how
film.
every known actor known to God has played a Klingon now. So
Pretty much.
Well, we're still waiting on Danny DeVito. I would love to see a Danny DeVito,
Danny DeVito Klingon.
Klingon, you know?
Fire the fucking throw photons. So, Mike, we already did a whole Star Trek episode, so I don't think we need to keep lingering on that, right?
no,
So-
not at the moment.
Kevin, what is your last one?
Oh, my last one. Excuse me. Where's my list? Holy shit. Hold on for a sec.
This is a good.
Oh,
right here.
okay. My last one is it's a Disney movie, and it was just cool for like the visual effects.
Tron.
It was yes, that's it.
As soon as you said visual effects, I knew what you were going for.
Yep, it was just fun. The light bikes were always like exciting. You know, I didn't know shit about computers, and I don't think I understood it then either. To be like, oh, a user as opposed to a program or any of that stuff. But it was just interesting, and I think that fueled my want to see Tron Legacy when it came out, which I think is unappreciated. The effects now could be updated. I don't think Clue looked nearly as good as he could have. But I think the idea was good. You know,
I remember Tron watching it a lot as a kid, but not really understanding it too much. Like not even just like the computer part, but I always thought the main character's name was Tron. You know, like I didn't realize till years later that it was a different character in the film, and like like, it was just because it was a little like over my head a little bit as a kid.
Yeah,
but I did enjoy, like you said, the visual effects and the video game aspect of it. And I had the game on Atari, which was a lot of fun to play. You could do like the light bikes and shit. It was awesome. Yeah.
It came out in 82.
82, yeah. So I was pretty young. So
You're 5. I was 8.
By process of elimination, even though I had 7, a couple of them were eliminated because Mike had a couple of the same films I had. So I ended up basically having 5 then after all that. And my last film is not one we really have to go into much. I've already spoken about this a few weeks back when I said after 40 years of watching this film, I finally recognized a joke that I had never recognized before. Mike, imagine a Twinkie. Ghostbusters. This one I definitely saw in the theater. I was 7 when this movie came out. I definitely remember seeing it in the theater. Definitely remember loving it as a kid, even though I didn't understand some of the adult jokes in it. Rewatching the shit out of it when it came on cable, and then eventually taping it on a VHS and rewatching the shit out of that VHS. And still to this day, rewatching Ghostbusters as often as I can. And the joke that I remember recently that I had not noticed before was when they're in the library at the beginning, and Ray says to Egon and Venkman, "Wait, listen, do you smell that?" And I was like, wow, how did I not notice that joke for 40 years? So, yeah, I don't have to think I have to get into that any more than I already have in the past. So, what the hell was that?
Something came. I was looking up Tron, and the sound wasn't turned off.
Tron! One more time, Kev. One more time, Kev. Hey!
There's so many more movies that can be put on these lists. I mean,
that's like I said. Like I had a really hard time with this because there were so many I wanted to say, but some of them were after, like later on in life. Like I could go with the '90s. I could give you a fucking shitload of films in the '90s.
Some of them I wanted to keep from my movies that time forgot.
Exactly. Yeah. I tried to go with movies that I didn't think were forgotten films.
Like Terminator was one that I watched a lot when I was younger too. So there's a lot of movies that were out there that are like, jeez. But these 5 were the ones I watched. Well, 5 groups.
It's more like 20 films that you gave us. You just kind of grouped them all together. So, Mike, you have any beer trivia or history for us this evening?
I got some beer history. Beer was a commodity used for trading, tithing, and payment in medieval times. Throughout the 5th and 6th centuries, monasteries began to spread through Europe, spreading Christian petty and adopting beer production and culture. Some historians believe this was a rebellion of sorts from a former age of Roman rule in which wine was considered the only civilized drink.
Yeah, I get
beer is money.
So let's revisit our drinks. I finished both of my Mike's Hard Lemonades a while ago, and now I'm getting kind of thirsty again.
Yeah. Me too.
Me too, with your pumpkin, and you killed a crowler.
I killed a crowler, a 9.2% alcohol crowler too.
Are you
so
drinking?
I'm feeling
Are you
pretty damn good.
are you teaching tomorrow?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a good day.
Did you teach today?
Yes.
Yeah, we had the
Yes,
whole
we
whole
had-
Young Frankenstein incident today.
Yes,
That's right.
It was a half day too. So half day with kids, half day PD. No, this was delicious. I can't promote this brewery enough, and I know I dropped a couple cards there, so hopefully they're listening.
I'm going to give them. I'll shoot them an email later.
Yeah. Swedesboro Brewing Company, established in 2020, a very tough year to come out as a new brewery. But man, do they deliver. I mean, these were all, I mean, you can see Megan and I just went to town on their stuff. This one, hold on, where is it? This one in particular is pretty good. The Marvin the Marzen.
I was going to say that Marvin the Martian on that card.
That's Marvin the Marzen. Megan really liked the we have this downstairs. It is a bottle capped with wax. It is a bourbon, Wee Elephant bourbon. What is it? It's a bourbon. Oh, this is it. The barrel aged Scotch ale. I bet.
Nice.
Bourbon.
Nice.
I am looking for it. That was so good. Megan liked the Cran Basket. It's a cranberry wheat beer. You know, so like I am definitely looking forward to getting down there again. It's just a bit of a stretch for us. It's a nice stretch of the legs, and if we can pull it off next week, we have a couple things that we're looking at. But the Witchcraft, October 13th and 14th in Hamilton, New Jersey.
Nice.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for episode 124, the birthday episode. Happy birthday to us all. We got some birthday fireworks going on behind Kevin right now. You gotta like play around with it, Kevin. See like what other things you can discover for your emojis.
What happens if you give us the thing or the okay?
Yeah, do the okay. That's it. Yeah. Nope, nothing for that.
Nothing.
How about the finger?
Nothing.
Just give me the finger. Yeah, big red. Yeah, it's like the note still pops up. So thank you again for joining us for episode 124, the birthday episode, where we look at some of our rewatchable films of our youth. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Remember, you can drop us a line at filmsoffermentation@gmail.com or go to linktree.com. You're fucking me up here. Go to linktree.com/filmsoffermentation. Find all of our social media podcast links. Don't forget, you can support the show on Patreon or buy our merchandise at teespring.com. Become part of the Films of Fermentation family. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between Pickled and Fermented next week for episode 125. 125 episodes. That's pretty significant, I think, there.
That's a lot.
For that episode, we are going to do a revisit of one of our recurring topics this year in film history. And for this episode, we're going to be going into the 21st century for the first time, and we're going to be revisiting the year 2001 and looking at some of the movies that came out that year. Not a Space Odyssey, no. More like a what the hell's going on Odyssey, because Kevin's now playing around with his backgrounds.
That's because he got money and got better equipment. And now he's going to fuck around with it.
Now he's going to fuck around with it. And I'm
Hey guys.
Hey.
Did you know that Yoda had a last name?
What?
It was Lehihu.
I'm going to go now because I'm tired and I still have to edit this episode before I go to bed tonight. So
fine.
Once again, I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
Thanks again for joining us, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.